You're familiar with the term bedside manner, and today we're going to take it a step further by using the phrase humanize. And how can you, as a provider, humanize your brand? Connect on an emotional level with patients, other providers, prospects, employees, and employment candidates. And we're going to discuss why storytelling is so important and how you can do it. So we're going to start with a story. And this is Patricia Fortunato. She is my hero, my role model, and my mom. Born in 1934, despite a tough childhood, she persevered. Married my father in the 1950s. They had these 6 kids who grew up to be these 6 kids, and they have all of these kids. In her 30s, her body started to decline, which led to mobility issues, chronic pain, new hips, new knees, spinal fusion. She had 3 bouts of cancer and a lot of trips to the hospital. Though arthritis attacked her hands, she still found a way to pursue her passion, painting. And at age 40, she adventured into the world of artistry, and she started her career as an artist. Watercolor became her expertise, and after 15 years, her artwork started getting noticed. She became an accomplished artist, featured in many exhibits, and she grew quite a following. At age 80, she was published in a French art magazine. And recently, she took her granddaughter's request to paint her favorite stuffed animal. My mother passed away a few months ago. Of course, I miss her every day, but I cherish the lessons I learned from her. She was a great teacher in many ways. Whether I took on a new venture or started a new career path, Mom never questioned me. She trusted that if I was going to fall down, I'd be able to get back up. She showed me how to get back up. She literally fell down many times, breaking a bone, bruising her face. She always got back up, and she led by example. And her actions taught perseverance, strength, accountability, trust in yourself, and trust in your decisions. She taught art the same way she taught life. She would tell my children to color and paint outside the lines if that's what they wanted to do. As a mother and grandmother, she would give you the paintbrush of life and tell you to do it and let you succeed and fail on your own terms.
You can grab the puppy.
Her words of wisdom to paint outside the lines and quiet yet consistent encouragement to just be you is what gave me the confidence to quit my secure job at age 46, newly married, with our first baby, to start this company. And that's my father-in-law. His words, you better know what you're doing. And so Shovel the Sidewalk was born. Why is it called Shovel the Sidewalk? It's not because I have a unique passion to shovel snow. It started many years ago while working for a big media company, a convenience store. It was a client of ours, and they had a grand opening. Everything was well done. Store looked beautiful. We even had local media coverage, but they forgot to shovel the sidewalk. And many customers ended up with wet, cold feet. They had a bad experience and a bad impression of the brand. The name Shovel the Sidewalk now serves as a daily reminder to us and to our clients that everything you do affects your brand. If you don't shovel the sidewalk to your business on a snowy day, your customers will have a bad experience. If you rob a bank wearing your company t-shirt, that's bad for your brand. If you have a friendly salesperson or customer service rep, that's good for your brand. Reality is there's just no shortcuts to success. Everything you do or you don't do matters. Your brand equals everything you do or don't do. And remember, your brand isn't what you think it is. Your brand is what the community perceives it to be. So you have to choose whether or not you're going to try to mold the perception in a positive way by telling your story. And whatever that message, make sure it's consistent across all channels, from print collateral to website to advertisement. So back to stories, and why did I share mine? Well, there's really 2 reasons. to engage you emotionally, attempt to get a human connection early to gain and retain your attention throughout this presentation. Because it's my story. It's real. It's authentic. It's human. It's me. And I'm hopeful that it'll inspire you to do the same thing with your practice. We have to realize there are other, there's other great doctors out there that may have the same specialty as you or other great practices, but none of them have you or your docs or your PAs or your philosophy, your story, your belief system. So will your story click with everyone? No. Some will be turned off by it, but those that connect, they will become your number one patient, vendor, partner, employee, and brand ambassador. You need to own your uniqueness. You need to humanize your brand. Utilize and use authentic storytelling. You need to be you. Build an emotional brand connection. Roy Williams from The Wizard of Ads, it's a book, and he has a few of them. He says in the one called Wizard of Ads, when the heart, the mind will follow, we say the wallet follows as well when you connect emotionally. Back to storytelling and the power and the history of storytelling. It became a great art after the discovery of fire. The days became longer. People started sitting around campfires telling stories, a tradition that continues with many families today, including my own. So what about data? The Journal of Hospital Administration published a study from late 2015 titled The Story Mind, a meta-narrative reviewing, exploring, which reviewed and explored the capacity of stories to foster humanism in healthcare. And there are numerous takeaways, but the one that stands out, for us at least, confirms our own findings through multiple experiences, that storytelling generates emotional connections and transmits knowledge, which sticks. I believe, I'm not sure, I think we put the link to that study in the messages if you want the full study. And the power of sound, the most important factor of a great story. It's what brings a brand and a story to life. Think about it. Do we learn to connect emotionally best via the spoken word, or is it the written word? Well, we know it's the spoken word. How did you learn the alphabet? You didn't just start reading the alphabet. You heard it, heard the song, repeated it. That's why when you recite the alphabet in your mind or out loud, we know you're going to pause after the letter G, because you're going to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then you're going to go P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And we've known about the power of the spoken word for a long, long time. Abraham Lincoln was taught in what was called a blab or vocal school, which focused on learning through the spoken word rather than a typical silent classroom of reading. Lincoln continued that practice as an adult, would annoy his colleagues at the law firm he read out loud books and newspapers. We watch and listen to TED Talks. We don't read TED essays. A football coach before the big game doesn't hand out nice notes. He gives a powerful locker room speech, gets his team to run through a wall and follow him onto the field. Humans, we're just wired for sound. Sound equals emotion. Plenty of studies cite that we make decisions based on emotion we justify with logic later. Examples of the power of sound.
I have a dream that my 4 little children.
Martin Luther King, maybe the greatest speaker of all time, took advantage of the power of sound, got his message across. My friend Don Tomasulo insists nobody should ever have trouble with a shark, because if you hear the music, you just have to get out of the water.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
And Al Michaels used sound to tell us about the greatest upset in sports history. And the most successful sitcom in TV history has a musical identifier, an audio logo that elicits a smile just when you hear it. And a wise man once said, a picture may be worth 1,000 words, audio can be worth 1,000 pictures. But what about video? We love video, mainly because it has sound. There's great power in using video and audio to tell your story. And a great example of using audio and video and storytelling and connecting emotionally is Crosspoint Dentistry. She's a one dentist smaller practice that has to compete with the big box dental groups. And to tell Dr. Kelly's story is Sidewalk shoveler Maria Batt, who works very closely with Dr. Kelly. And Maria, I'll try to go along with you as you tell the story here, Maria.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Hello, everybody. This here is Dr. Kelly Trung, and look at her. She's terrifying, isn't she? Absolutely scary. The truth of the matter is there are a lot of people that are so scared of dentists, and on site, she's so sweet, and it's not even just on site. That's who she is. She built this practice that reflects that caring personality, and really the cornerstone of that is building these deep relationships with her patients through her great bedside manner. But those patients aren't so passionate when they first get there about her. They don't want to see her. They're scared of her. They're terrified of her. So to humanize her brand, she really humanized herself. Until you build that emotional relationship as a medical provider, you're just a lab coat in people's heads. And she's a lab coat in a male-dominated field with people that are scared of her. So by letting her open up and tell her story and be her authentic self and share her philosophies, we started, just like Steve said, you built an emotional connection with somebody before they even stepped in the door. And that's what we did. We let her talk. And here's her team, even her team themselves. They're caring. They're a team of mothers. When you're scared, you don't want to be around like the big, tall principal of your school or a no-named doctor. You want to be with a mom. You want to be somebody that's going to take care of you. And that's the area of expertise that she focused on, is building emotional connections and relationships with her patients so they feel good about putting their trust in her for their care, and they become better patients for it, and they have a better relationship. So really kind of one of the first steps in there is just, again, letting her talk, starting with audio. We didn't just let her talk, but we also, when we were developing the brand, we built an audio logo for her, or, some people might call it a jingle. It's very, it matches her personality. It's soft, it's sweet, it's comforting. And here's an example of just a non-scripted radio commercial that we cut with her utilizing that audio logo.
I think when our very anxious and phobic patients come in, that's when our practice actually shines. There's nothing worse than knowing someone is suffering just because they can't bring themselves to go to the dentist. So we do offer oral conscious sedation, which just makes you very comfortable. It has changed many lives.
Crosspoint Dentistry with Dr. Kelly Trung.
And that's her slogan there, the way it should be. I think back when, I know a lot of people are afraid of the dentist when they were kids, but I wasn't. I loved going to the dentist because I knew him. I knew the hygienists there. And that traditional kind of feeling, the way it should be every time you go to the dentist's office, but with the modern technology that you're able to take advantage of, that's what we built for her. And that's really what you feel when you go into the practice. It's just the way it should be. So we utilized audio. We also utilized video too. People are hearing her in the car. We want them to be able to see her face too, to not just hear that she's a comforting force and somebody that you can trust, but also that, she has gentle mannerisms and she's smiling and she's just somebody that you want to put your trust into and somebody that you want to like. So here's an example of her, again, non-scripted, telling her story and utilizing video, and also working in the brand image and her audio logo.
We see it every day. So whatever the reason is that you've put off going to the dentist, we understand. It might be out of fear. It might just be things have gotten away from you. I mean, we're all quite busy. But so to know that this is a judgment-free zone, we're happy to have you. The hardest phone call is just the first one, especially our staff is so great here, and once you speak to Lynn or Michelle on the phone, I feel like most people get a nice warm fuzzy feeling, and they may not be excited for their first visit, but they do feel comfortable enough to come in. So really making that first phone call, realizing that you are not the only patient that has put off dental care. It shouldn't be scary. It should just be an easy first visit.
Cross-point dentistry, the way it should be.
So what were the results from all of this hard work that she did here? Well, when we started to reshape her brand and back in like 2019, her practice was very insurance driven. She had low revenues. She really depended on just the patients. She's in a larger business park, on people that were going in and out of that park, hopefully to be her main base. But now, this year, 2022, she has a much higher quality of patients with dramatically higher revenues. We've been able to attract those phobic patients who've put off work and have, years of treatments that they need to do just to get kind of back to a baseline. And it's every day we see emails that come through, or she gets phone calls, and they tend to say kind of the same thing, that they hadn't stepped foot in a dental office in years. Their last experiences were bad, but they heard her on the radio and they just felt a connection with her, or they saw a video on Facebook and they felt that they could trust her and they just liked her. Again, building a human connection early. These people walk through the door before even having met her, feeling like she's part of their family already. And it's like Steve said, you make decisions based on emotion first and you develop logic later. They didn't stop and pull over their car and check out what insurance she takes, or what dates might look on their schedule first. They felt a connection with her. They made the call and they walk through the door and they're greeted with just a great environment that matches the brand, that matches who she authentically was during all of these commercials. And it's just awesome.
Okay. Thanks, Maria. So how can, well, there she is there. I forgot to show. There's more pictures of, can't have enough pictures of Dr. Kelly. By the way, another thing, all those emails that we see, or any kind of new patient memos, none of them say it's because you're a great dentist, even though she's fantastic. But they do all go back to, I just feel comfortable with you. I feel like you'll no judgment zone. You'll take care of me. I have a phobia and I feel very comfortable with you. So great signaling of exactly what Maria's talking about. It's about that emotional connection. That's what people have with Dr. Kelly and her entire team. So, but how can you guys do this? On your own? Do you, or your marketing director, or, I mean, if you're an office administrator, if you have a smartphone, then you're on your way. The only required additional equipment to help tell stories could be a lavalier mic to give you a much better quality of audio, maybe a ring light. So we turn to our shoveler, Jamie Catania, to tell us more. Jamie's our director of audio and video, and he gets the Tough Guy Award today. Jamie he can give you the details if he wants, but he's messed up. He has broken everything in his leg and he's got surgery coming up tomorrow. And we're going to go to Jamie here. I'm not sure. Did I stop sharing the screen correctly? You guys should now see us or see Jamie, and to let Jamie kind of take it from here. Jamie, go ahead.
Hey, everyone. So as Steve mentioned, you're already halfway there if you have a smartphone. You don't need a high-powered camera to start telling your story. And I just kind of want to go over, how you can basically start today if you have your smartphone. So the first thing is just start hitting record and talking into the phone. Some of the subjects that you could talk about are why you got into the practice, tips that you've learned over the years for patients, maybe even getting patients involved if you know them very well and they're they feel comfortable being on camera. But I would say the first challenge is seeing yourself on the camera, and you're going to want to have it recording this way, which is vertical. I'll get a little bit more into detail as to why we want to record it that way, but just keep in mind, it would record like this. The second thing, which is obviously the most important thing, is the power of sound, and how you're going to be able to get a high quality sound from your smartphone is you're going to use something called a lavalier mic. Steve had shown it on the screen already, but I'm going to go over how it should actually look on the person that you're recording, or if you're recording yourself. Here is the end of, here's the microphone part, if you could see that. And what you're going to want to do, depending on the shirt that you're wearing, if you're wearing a collared shirt, you're going to want to run it through your shirt. This is going to give it more of a professional look versus somebody that's viewing your video and sees a cord just kind of hanging. This just kind of takes it to another level by having it hidden. Once this is looped through your shirt, you're now going to bend it. So it's going to kind of like fold over with the cord, and it's a clip. And I'm sorry if you can't see it that well. I'm trying to get as close to the screen as I can with there we go. So it is now on my shirt. Okay. So you're going to take the end of this cord. It's a normal headphone jack. If anybody remembers these, I know everything's kind of changing to Lightning and USB-C and all that other stuff that's out now. But the thing about our phones is they got rid of this. So if you have an iPhone, this is what you would typically use if you're using traditional headphones still. And you're going to plug the circle part into the end of here. Okay. Now that you're going to have the port that looks like your charger, you're going to take that and you're going to put it in the phone, and it's going to look like this. So now when you're recording yourself, it's going to sound like you're in front of the person that you're speaking with, because we're limited right now with technology. Even though this is great technology, we don't want it sounding like you're across the room, because if it's somebody that's watching your video that's in a certain situation, or family or friend, whoever, and they're looking for a doctor and they don't know where to turn, they want to feel like you're talking to them. So that's the importance of the audio, feeling the passion, understanding that, you're serious about what you do. And Steve mentioned this before, you're not going to be for everybody. It's based on your personality, your tonality, how you act, if you move your hands around. So what? The people that really do like you, that's going to be your tribe. Those are going to be the people that will follow you wherever. So just keep that in mind. You're never going to reach everybody, but this is going to take it to the next level with humanizing your brand. You're going to come across as authentic. Just stay true to yourself as you're talking into the phone. So now when somebody comes to your practice, they feel like they already know you. The second thing that I wanted to just bring up real quick, there was a piece of equipment in the presentation. We'll have links and stuff for you. Is the lighting. It's called a ring light. They're relatively inexpensive, and that's basically going to hold your phone for you. But I do want to just keep in mind, it's perfectly acceptable to hold yourself like a selfie. Remember, you're just getting started. You're not skipping and going right to this unless you already have it. Steve, for the second part for the phone, we don't need to share the screen for this, but I just want to kind of go a little bit more into why this is important. And I'll kind of share my story, what I had recently went through. So we had learned the impact of stories, but how does that help the patient at the end of the day? Well, the main thing is when you build trust with your patient, obviously they're going to listen to what you have to say, versus somebody being a hard head and ignoring, your recommendations. They're going to take everything that you say seriously. So from my personal experience, recently broke my leg, messed up my ankle. I've seen quite a few amount of doctors. One doctor really stood out. It was actually in the ER who took the time, and it was already crazy. I mean, there's stuff going on. I'm in the emergency room, but he really made an impact on this healing journey right now, where he shared his story of sliding in baseball, messed up his leg, and now he's fine. And he was reassuring me, hey, just make sure it has time to heal. Everything else comes secondary. The main thing is heal and tell yourself you're going to heal. And I'm a firm believer, and I know everybody on the shovel team is a big believer, the power of the mind as well, telling yourself everything is going to be fine. So I would recommend sharing your story as soon as you can. At least you'll start getting used to being on camera. And then you could take further steps in terms of upgrading equipment, or if the person that is recording you, whether it's an office manager, marketing department, they could worry about the equipment later, but it's the sound and it's the content that you're creating. It's you.
James, what I love about that story is the fact that an emergency room doc last week used the power of storytelling to help you start healing.
Correct.
That's pretty powerful.
Correct. Because me, I'm pretty active. I can't stay still. I'm always moving. He was the one that kind of reassured me that if I want to get back to where I was, I need to start now. Whereas, you're in the situation, you've seen many doctors, they don't really have to, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and they're doing other things. He just made a really big impact, and it just really reassured that the power of storytelling is that human element when it comes to patient care and maximizing patient outcomes.
Another thing I want to point out is we notice on Dr. Kelly's video, it wasn't a Hollywood production. It was what's called a talking head. And
Correct.
and a lot of times, people are, that's just a talking head. Well, and they want more of a flashy produced video, which can be powerful too. But when someone's talking to you in person, live, like Dr. Kelly's talking to me, I don't see video over her talking head, what's called video B-roll, showing things. I just see Dr. Kelly talking to me. And it's very powerful. And a lot of times we cover up important parts of someone talking with video B-roll. And we always say this, a lot of times it's more important how you say it than what you say. You can see the expressions and the passion and the care and the empathy that Dr. Kelly has when she's talking to you, just like you felt the true compassion of that emergency room doctor last week who was talking to you, telling you his own personal story. He was doing it because he cared, sharing his story, knowing that it's going to help you, and it began your healing process mentally immediately. Very powerful. One other thing, James, before we wrap up here, we talk about how important audio is. Audio is the most important aspect of video. Again, audio is the most important aspect of video. We have to have good audio. And that's why you talk about at least having the lavalier microphone. Our phones themselves are amazing and definitely acceptable for a lot of digital video. If we were doing a broadcast television commercial, we wouldn't be using our phones. But everything else, this is fine. But what about when someone's doing something, so there's a big internal birthday party and we want to show the culture. I don't have time to sit here and put a microphone on somebody. Isn't the natural sound coming off my phone good enough?
That's the thing. You don't always have time to capture a powerful moment. So yeah, if something is happening instantly, you can't worry about miking everybody up. Of course, these are whether it's a celebration, somebody got promoted, somebody's birthday. This is a perfect time to get that phone out and show the personality of your practice, who makes up the practice, personalities. This can all be seen from your potential patients and your patients, whether you put it on social, you put it on the website. That is a great example of humanizing your practice, because it's a positive experience, right? Everybody's celebrating when normally the work is very obviously intense. You have to help people out. You're hearing other people. It's a great tool for internal boosting employee morale, helping other potential doctors out there or people that are still in school see what your practice is all about. So there's really two things that this helps besides the patients. It's also your practice's employees.
Yeah, we call that the Hollywood effect. Great point, James. We have found, that was not planned, but we have found over the years, what happens when we tie in, when we allow our best brand ambassadors in your situation would be your patients, but also the employees of the practice, not just the doctors, maybe there's PAs, administrators, whomever. Allowing them to tell their story is also very powerful. Um, Internally, that Hollywood effect is, I mean, we haven't had, employees say this, but in essence, this is what they're saying. Wow, you trust me so much with your brand, which is what you're doing. You're giving, they're empowering them. You trust them so much that you want them to tell their story and let the world know about their story. And when, let's just say you use a piece of it, maybe it's on your website, but you use a piece of it and repurpose it and you put it on social media, and Aunt Betty sees that video and she's like, that is awesome, that is great, that what a great company, what a great practice that you work for, that this is so great that you get to share your story. It's like putting people up on a billboard. So those were unintended, well, not consequences, but certainly it was many positive effects of and tying in our employees and with all of our clients. So we recommend that you do that. Start with one person and move on from there. One other thing is, not all doctors have great bedside manner, right? So should we fake it? No. We should be real. And if this particular doctor, and it doesn't have to be super labor intensive, the practice administrator, marketing director can take care of everything. You have to schedule 5 minutes with the doc and get them to open up and start discussing their philosophy. But if they're really, empathetic, like that emergency room doc, that's who they are. If they're real straightforward and they're more like, hey man, I'm using this up here. This is step 1, 2, 3, and 4. You have to do this. This is the situation. That's the way it is. That's the way that person should be. That won't be for some people, but other potential patients will love that. Okay. So that's pretty much all we have for now. If there's anything else any questions anyone has or wants us to touch on another topic, we'd certainly be willing to do it.
I want to just say thank you, Steve and Maria and Jamie. This was so, compelling, and I am actually glad that we have this recorded so we could share it with members. But I did want to give an opportunity for one of our practice heads who joined us, Bobby Binner, and I'm sorry, Bobby, would you like to? You'd have to unmute yourself because I think you've been joined on audio. Would you like to say anything? Do you
Yes,
have any questions?
I do. So I'm sorry I came in a little late. I was tied up with the situation. So
fine.
if we, like for social media outlets and especially like our webpage, if we wanted to add these videos in and just create a whole new atmosphere within the social media networking to help really get our message out there, to show the other side of our providers, like they're welcoming the patients in, and it's, you showed like it's simple to create these videos. Like what aspect, I think for both of you, I would actually have questions legally, and how can we make use of our platform that we have?
Well, you mean compliance issues? HIPAA?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something you discuss with counsel to make sure whatever you do is correct. We've done things, James, how many times have we done it where we're videotaping something and then we recognize, oh, you have your laptop, your computer's open. We can't do that. So you have to make sure, and that's not just in the medical practice either. It's everywhere. You got to make sure that there's no, because people can zoom in on screens. So all screens have to be cleared out. If you're doing a customer testimonial, you're going to want to get, what's that called, Jane Maria, the signature,
like a waiver release.
waiver. Thank you. Yeah, get a waiver.
Yeah. And if your doctor's talking or provider's talking about an anecdote or an experience he had with a patient, obviously you wouldn't want to give anything away, any personal information. But if you're going to have a patient do a testimonial, which we've done, which are awesome and so powerful, you'd of course want them to sign a waiver first. And it's usually, when you're filming, just a good rule of thumb to not be like in the reception area or near files or anything like that. As long as you don't have any of that stuff around you, You should be good to go.
Yeah, we
Okay, awesome.
did
Thank
Great
you.
Lakes, Great Lakes Medical Imaging, and it was docs, IRs, and then we did the patient testimonials, but they did sign waivers so that we could discuss their specific situation. But in general, a doc obviously is never going to discuss a specific situation without consent, but that is definitely something you should run through counsel. Then you asked
Okay.
a question about your platform. What was the question about the?
Just I guess linking the platforms together with our web service, like we use Buffalo Webs, and putting everything on there, making sure we have the most relevant and current information for all of our patients. I know, we're primary care, we can't scope everything, but what we really focus on, like, what do you think would be the best targets to put on there to keep up with, the relevant times, the younger generation, because we do have a lot of people that are cycling out, with death and older, and then trying to get the younger generation in.
There's a lot of things there, but do you have younger docs?
We have one younger doc and 5 younger PAs.
So I look at, did you catch the part when we were talking about Dr. Kelly? Maria was talking about Dr. Kelly.
Some part of it, yeah, that's when I just came into it.
So Dr. Kelly is a one lady dentist, right? She's it, and then she has hygienists. She's competing against all these conglomerates now. And one of the points that we wanted to get across is that she is a woman, so we didn't go out and say she's a woman. We just let her talk, and you can see she's a woman, and you can hear that she's a woman. Plus, if it was just by itself, Dr. Kelly could be a guy, Dr. Trong could be a guy. So
you just didn't hype it up for
right. We let her
them.
tell her story. So us saying, hey, we're looking for, we're good for younger people. That's not it. You just got to be you, and in whatever you're doing. So say it's a doc, and it could be an older doc that could be attract younger new patients. It all depends on what they're talking about. You might again be talking about younger people issues and target those younger people, but I wouldn't go out and say, we're looking for younger people. I would just do the real thing. If you have an expertise in X or Y, I know it's you said you're primary care, right? UPC. So yeah, so it's everything, which is okay too. It's okay to say, I mean, we have, and I don't know if you have specialists within the primary care, how that works, but I think what attracts, especially, and everyone keeps talking about the younger generation, whether it's Z and used to be Y, and now they're the millennials, but the Gen Z is, I think, and a lot of the focus is you want to be authentic, because that's what the younger generation wants. They want authenticity. They want you to be real. They want you to just to be you. Tell them like it is. You don't have to be super fancy. You don't have to do this high production value. Just be real. Don't be who you're not. And I argue that's true, but I think that's for everybody, whether you're 90 or whether you're 25 years old. If I'll connect with the real person, to me, it's even more so for the older people, because we've been fed really bad advertising for the last 40 years of things that are in your face and fake, and whistles and horns going off and just really bad stuff. But this isn't even advertising. This is really about your brand. What we're encouraging you to do is be human. A lot of times in healthcare, we tend to have a cold brand, even though we have great and open humans internally. I mean by that, Maria can speak to that. It's cold. It's like the colors are cold, and our brand is very because it's pretty serious stuff when you're talking about people's health. We can't, you can't be goofy, you really, but you don't also have to be so cold and calculated. And what we're suggesting is just relax a little bit and try to get out of yourself, and whether it's the docs and people and nurses, just the real thing of what would be really attractive to somebody is, why are you doing what you do? I'd be really interested to know that, because, and it doesn't have to be really a well articulated, perfect, scripted thing. Well, it should not be scripted. It should just be real. This is why this is why I'm a primary care physician. I'm a primary care physician because X, Y, and Z. That's interesting to me. And that's interesting to anybody else.
And if I can too, Bobby, one thing is we have another one of our clients, and everybody that we interview for them, this is a program within the Seneca Nation. Everybody that we interview, we sit down. A lot of times we just ask them one question. Their slogan is honor your journey. And we just ask them, how do you honor your journey? And you're going to get 5 different interview subjects with 5 different stories. And all of those are going to touch a member in the community in a very different way. And so will your doctors too. And I think that that's such a great way, natural way to attract new patients, whether they're new or young, or new or young, older young, is just giving them the opportunity to talk about who they are, why they practice medicine, what they get out of it, and that satisfaction, that instant gratification that they get when they're helping somebody, but why particularly for them, because they're going to, like, somebody might not have good bedside manner. They're very like straight and to the point and in and out. Somebody might want that. Somebody might not want somebody who's real flowery. Somebody else might want something that's, a little funny or a little bit calmer. And by showcasing those different personalities, as opposed to, same day appointments and great x-ray machines and the non-smelling alcohol swabs or whatever it is that you have, they're going to go in because they felt a connection with that person, not because of different bells and whistles that you have. And that will also build more of a lasting relationship, I think, especially in Western New York. We're such a loyal people. When you find somebody you feel a connection with, you're not going to leave that person, and they're not staying there because you can get an appointment within 48 hours or anything like that. They're staying because they care for that person and they trust them.
That's what we want to get back to, the provider and the patient. And even though the insurance company is a huge part, but we don't want to, I guess, show the patients that we have that constriction, which is very hard at times to do, because patients don't understand, their health insurance, or might not understand their medical care as it is. So we're trying to help all age groups and everybody that comes in.
And
Bobby,
I would speak to that too, Bobby,
exactly.
because
That's what I was going to say,
that's something,
Maria.
yeah, that's something we've done with CrossPoint. Because my God, sometimes somebody doesn't want to switch a practice because it's such a headache. 1, you got to make all these phone calls. 2, doesn't fit within your insurance. Oh wait, my insurance just changed. So what's this visit? What's that? And then they end up just kind of staying where they are and they're miserable. But then there's also your patients who maybe would come in more often if they had an issue, as opposed to just ignoring it. But that insurance, that is stress. That is like chest tightening stress. So we've done videos where it's like, we get it. This stuff sucks and it's confusing, and you think you're signing up for one thing, and then before you know it, you have something else. So this is our office manager, and she's awesome, and she has a passion to help you guys figure this out. So that way, that's not something you have to worry about. We'll take care of that. So it's not even just the providers, it's also your support team too. So people know, okay, well, that's the person I'm going to talk to when I call. That's the first voice I'm going to hear. That's what she looks like. That's who I know I'm going to be talking to. Or I have an insurance question. I'm going to call Michelle, and it's not just the faceless office assistant. It's I'm calling this person, and I know she's going to take care of me because she's my Michelle.
I like that. Thank you.
Just wanted to reinforce just authenticity again one more time. We do not script anything. That is our philosophy. Nothing should be, hey, here, say this, doctor. It's, you give them a theme, you ask them a question, you let them talk. It doesn't matter if they say, the pauses. And even for you, Bobby, like if you start doing this and you're giving tips to people that are either new patients or older patients, where it's like, hey, here are the top things that you could do to speed up the process. Here's how you should be organizing your paperwork so that when it comes time to insurance questions, you have everything available. I mean, this definitely includes you too. It's not just the doctors. Maria, I'm glad you brought up the support team, because you're going to be a face that your patients and potential patients see, whether it's the first face or the last face when they walk, in and out of the practice. So this includes everybody. This is not just doctors and PAs.
No, that's what at our website, it's very boring, and people can obviously look the providers up too, but I wanted to do like a segment for like the staff members, like a discussion of this week, what they found interesting, what they, within patient care. Like I wanted to do something within that so the patients can read about that, have like not to say like a newspaper, or not a blog either, but just something that we can constantly update, maybe like once or twice a month, so the patients can really see like behind the scenes. Like Dr. Odessa is an avid Bills fan, and he loves to fish, and his daughter's favorite toy is this. So I want that type of in your face kind of, but
Absolutely.
to also bring it back to be relevant to the patients. Oh, he's a doctor, he's held up here, but he also does the same thing as that I do. So makes me feel more comfortable and want to go there.
No, that's great. You get it.
Yeah, Bobby, you're humanizing the brand. That's perfect because your doctors are actually human. And one other tip, whether you're talking to a doc or it's yourself or anybody in the support staff, one thing that has worked for us when we're in healthcare is we tell them, pretend you're having a one-on-one conversation with a patient. You're in with a patient, I know there might be a camera in their face or something, or there's a microphone on, but how do you conduct yourself with a patient? And that tends to,
you have that rapport,
because it can be nerve-wracking. Even a phone can be nerve-wracking. It's like, oh, I mean, there's no big red light going on like in the old days, but it still can be. And sometimes it humanizes the whole thing. It's like, oh, okay, I'm having a one-on-one conversation. Don't use the words like folks. Hey, folks, this is what I'm doing. It's a one-on-one, I'm having a one-on-one meeting, a conversation.
Well, thank you.
May I just ask a question? I wanted to know in terms of next steps, Bobby, I feel like you asked a lot of great questions and that you're really thinking critically about how to, really depict the people at your practice and the experience that a patient can expect. And I think this was honestly, Steve and Jamie and Maria, this was really, really exceptional. And I just wanted to know in terms of next steps. So say Bobby's interested in getting you all in front of her practice to even show the other folks that are in the support staff, because I really love that idea as well, Bobby, about you wanting to also feature not just the doctors that make up the practice, but the gatekeepers, the people who are the ones that will receive the patients and say goodbye to the patients and set the next appointment for the patient and make the patient honestly want to come back. So, it plays such a big role in that I think that's spot on, Bobby, that you are thinking about that for your own brand. So anyway, where can folks go and who should they contact, Steve, if they would like to pursue, just some more of your guidance with regards to this? Thanks.
Well, if I'm Bobby, she already kind of gets it. I think she should put down her strategy on paper and see if she can try to take some of Jamie's tips and implement it herself. If she wants to go next level, because they're like, hey, this is pretty good, I kind of like this, but it gets a little bit overwhelming because I don't know how many people are in your practice.
47. I should know this. That was part of my master's degree in organizational leadership. So we had to do all this to, the whole, not just the staff, but the patients, everything in multiple areas of different fields. So.
Yeah. So, the name of our company is Shovel the Sidewalk. You can go online. We've got our contact information. You can contact any of us, and we'd certainly be willing to, check out your situation and give you a consult guidance or execution if that's what you're looking for. But, considering that you're kind of on it, maybe you can, or if you need help, like, hey, do I have a good enough phone? I don't know. You could talk to Jamie about that, but it's a simple, you can just contact us and we'll help you out. I think Jamie just put our website in the comment section. Also, Jamie, is in the comments, is there that video that we put together of kind of recapping
Yeah, that's in
That's
there
that's
as
in
well
there.
as the study. Mhm.
So there's a link in
Okay,
there.
so
Mhm.
Bobby's on audio, so I don't believe that you can see the chat. So
Oh,
you know
I can
what?
see the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grab that link. There is a link that recaps kind of what Jamie and I were, or what Jamie was talking about in regards to how to execute some of these technically with the phone. So I guess the point is, I think you should be okay at that beginner kind of level of trying to execute. Now, to me, I mean, then there's the storytelling part of it, which is a whole different training session. You know, how do
Mhm.
you actually tell the story? That is an art form. So anyone can shoot videos, but can you turn it into a story? I suggest you try, because we all have capabilities that we don't realize we have. Now
Mhm.
that's what we do. We tell stories. So it's a lot easier for us because that's all we do. But if you're
Mhm.
struggling in that
Mhm.
capacity, I would suggest you reach out to us or somebody else and try to help you to get those stories. It's getting that information. It's not information. I shouldn't say that. It's getting that emotion out of your subject, whoever we're talking to, whether it's a doc, support staff, and then being able to put it into a story that will connect with whomever in the situation you want to connect with, whether it's younger people or the mom of the family who generally makes all the decisions of getting people out there and getting to the doctor. So
Mhm.
that's what that next level is bringing in, professionals to take it to the next level. But for a beginner, that was the whole idea, is for you to be
Mhm.
able to try to do some of this stuff yourself.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Steve. And I feel like that is also what why this has been so great, is because you did give hands-on experience in terms of like hands-on guidance as to how to just do it yourself. But and the reason why I asked about, who would be the appropriate point of contact if there's, is because, for example, Bobby, you said you have 47 people in your practice.
Yep.
Or
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack, right? Like, so
Mhm.
you all can just explain what you do, right? It's hard for her to reiterate. Of course, we could share this, but you all just have a lot of, just subject matter expertise on this. And I think it would be great, like, if people got some additional guidance. But yeah, absolutely, I think it's great. I mean, Bobby, do you feel like you have, the tools to start? And
Def-
if not, you know who you can reach out to. They could share that in the chat.
Definitely. And if we need somebody like yourselves to come in, do you have like evening hours? Because some of our providers work till like after 4:30, 5 o'clock.
I'm unmuted now, right?
There you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we, uh, you know, we do what the customer needs us to do. So if you need us to meet in the evening, we meet in the evening. Obviously, we prefer not to, right? Anybody does,
Mhm.
but we do it. Sure.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you. I really cannot say, just how much I appreciate this. And I don't know if there's any parting words that you would want to have, Steve, Maria, or Jamie. And Bobby, if there's anything that you need, you know exactly how to contact them. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. We obviously have just a passion for this, because we see small businesses think they can't do this stuff, or they have to hire and spend tons of money to execute these kinds of things. And you can get started yourself. You can, and we just can't emphasize enough, just don't fake it. Just be yourself. And the worst thing can happen is you record it and it stinks. Then you just don't
Then
use
you
it.
redo it. Yep.
Don't use it. It's not
Mhm.
live. We're not live on the air. So just
Mhm.
try to start recording and see how it does and learn from that mistake. And keep giving it a shot. And it takes it. It's good. You're going to look back after a while and say that was pretty bad, right? Because you got that much better. But what you consider as bad 6 months from now is 20 times better than what everyone else is doing, because you're doing it. And that's what I would advise you to do, because everyone else is calculated, and you're going to be, you already said you want to talk to them, have them be more human. I like the bills or whatever it is.
Mhm.
they're not doing it. So you win right there just by being more human.
Mhm. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us. This was fun. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you for the opportunity. This
Yeah.
this was amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you all. I really do appreciate this, and we'll definitely keep in touch. And Bobby, if you want to circle back with me on anything, feel free to reach out anytime.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.